New Miles Monday, we'll go miles on this ride. New Miles Monday, with some miles on the side.
The best way to start any day is with headbutts from your cat while you're in your inversion table. Um, but that was Paw Skaggs, by the way, was that cat's name. But I just wanted to kind of share a day with really what I do. So this is a day in early June, and I'm going to be working at my shop. I'm going to be meeting Michael Lowenstern on the airstrip in Potsdam. We're doing a bunch of repairs, shipping some orders, stopping at the office at the college real quick to take care of some stuff. So yeah, learning a lot about my video editing software. Apparently 10 times is the fastest I can speed something up. So I've sped it up 10 times so my commute to the shop is not too boring here. My shop was in the basement of my house for the first 9 years, but I bought an old bank about a year ago. And yeah, it's been kind of nice, A, getting out of the house, and B, having some windows. So it's not too far. Potsdam's really not that big, but here we go. And hey, we're there already. So going in, unlocking the door, turning off the alarm. Okay, back to normal speed here. And I had one order come in overnight. It was for a Silverstein ligature from another customer named Miles, which is pretty cool. Don't run into other Mileses too often. So I am just finding the ligature that he ordered. Only the second one I looked at, so that was pretty lucky. And just heading to the back. It's a bit of a mess with all these boxes, but I never know what I'm going to need to ship next, so having a lot of different size boxes is really nice. So, gonna get out a box, get out the shipping label. There's my box right there. Assemble it. They're pretty easy to assemble, and it sure saves a lot of room not assembled. So, double and triple checking the packing slip. There's nothing worse than when I accidentally ship the wrong thing. I've only done that like 2 or 3 times in the 10 years I've had the business, which is a pretty good run, but I just feel terrible when I send somebody the wrong thing. So I'm always like almost obsessively checking checking on the item and what was ordered. Wrap it up with some kind of butcher paper packing material here. And I do put a handwritten note on the packing slip for every single order I get, just to thank people for shopping with me. And this one was especially fun because I get to both address it to a Miles and sign it from a Miles. I usually put a little prize of some sort in there. This time it was a North Country Winds sticker. A few pieces of tape on the box. Or slice of tape if you like. I know somebody who calls this a slice of tape. Does anybody out there call it a slice of tape? Put it in the comments if you call it a slice of tape or have ever heard anybody call that a slice of tape. Okay, we are all taped up. It's pretty early in the morning. It's still before 8 a.m. even. So I know the mail carrier hasn't been by. And when that happens, that's nice because it saves me a trip to the post office. I can just walk to the mailbox and the postal carrier will come pick it up. Now the mailbox is in a little bit of a weird spot because we had before we were like digging the hole for it, we had to get the gas lines marked, and sure enough, there were a ton of gas lines right underneath where I wanted to put the mailbox. So it's a little ways up the block, not terribly far, but closer would be better. But oh well, that's what we got to work with. Not bad on a day like this. It was a really, really nice day out, actually. You can imagine in Potsdam winters, this isn't the most fun. when it's negative 20 degrees out, to have to make a somewhat unnecessary trip halfway up the block. And then usually after I put out orders that are going out in the mailbox, that's when I'll take the opportunity to put up the open sign, turn on the electric sign, and we're ready for business. First thing I was working on today was just giving a final play test to this Bakun Q series bass clarinet. I had finished all the work on it the night before. This was the last of 4 instruments Michael wanted to pick up today. So yeah, I was kind of down to the wire. I usually don't like doing things day of, but it was fine. I just given it one final play test, and then I still had to give it its final polish and wipe down. I even, because it's going to be going in his plane, I like to wedge down some of the largest keys to make sure everything is nice and stable. I'll just speed things up a bit here, but yeah, really making sure the tenons are nice and clean and dry, getting all the old cork grease off. Not that there's anything wrong with cork grease on your tenons, but just want it to look extra nice because this is a very nice bass clarinet and it's brand new. So swabbing quite a bit there. I really like the Yamaha blue saxophone swab for bass clarinets. They make one for bass clarinets. I swear the Yamaha sax one works better on bass clarinets than the actual one that's meant for bass clarinets. So cleaning up the neck here, which comes with its own little pouch. These come in Marcus Bona cases, the Q series do, so that's going in a really, really super nice case. And yeah, even as soon as I'm done with the instrument, it's a solid 20 minutes before I'm really, truly, truly done, just from wiping everything down and polishing everything and wedging the keys. And it is actually a little bit longer than that still if I'm shipping an instrument, because if I'm entrusting it to UPS in a shipping box, maybe going halfway across the country or further, I do a few extra things, some extra padding. I wrap up some keys in a certain way to just give it its best chance of being nice and stable in transit and being in as good a shape as it is when it leaves the shop when it arrives on the client's doorstep. So yeah, just putting some little wooden wedges in under some of the largest keys on the lower joint to help stabilize everything. Still polishing. Okay, it's finally done. Hey, looks great. So the next thing I'm doing is making sure a Royal Global Firebird clarinet is all set up nice. This is from my stock, and I've got a customer coming in later today to try out the instrument. She had tried it out fairly recently, really liked it, wanted to try it a little bit more, thinking about buying it. So I'm just giving it one final check. I figured it was still in excellent shape from the last time she played it, but I just wanted to make sure that it was ready to go for her when she gets here. So yeah, great mag score. Playtest was great. And there it is on its stand, ready to go for when she comes in this afternoon. So here I am unpacking a set of clarinet keys that were sent off to the platers to get silver plated. These are for a Buffet R13A clarinet, and this is someone who thought they were having a reaction to the nickel, which is definitely a thing that just happens to everybody's different, and it's absolutely a thing that could happen. So the plating was getting a little worn anyway, but that plus maybe having a reaction. The client wanted the keys silver plated. I said, sure. It pretty much needs to be done in conjunction with an overhaul because all the key corks and pads need to be stripped from the keys before they can be plated. So I said, yeah, happy to do that, but it needs to be overhauled at the same time. And she said, yeah, that's totally fine. I ended up sending me both her A clarinet and her B flat clarinet, which did not need an overhaul, just a clean oil and adjust on that one. So send everything at once. And I've just kind of been waiting for the keys to come back so I could proceed with the work. And here they are back, and they always look so nice when they come back from the platers. I mean, they literally look brand new. This is for that same client. Now that the keys are back, I can kind of proceed with everything. I wasn't sure exactly when the keys were coming back, so I didn't want to really get in too far and then have everything just kind of clogging up my bench until the keys came back. But now that the keys are back, I can proceed with both of her clarinets. So here is the A clarinet that those newly plated keys were for. So I got to get the tendon corks off there. And then this is the B flat clarinet, which we're only doing a COA on. So, so I already had the keys off the A clarinet, obviously, because they had to be cleaned before, and then I, shipped off to the platers. But I hadn't even touched the B flat clarinet yet. So I am getting ready to strip that down, but we're not going to be taking any of the corks or pads off of this one. We're going to salvage as many as possible. If any need to be changed, we will, but it's kind of only as needed basis. So I'm just using an electric screwdriver for a little bit of efficiency, and I usually will loosen all the rods before I start pulling any of them out. And then can only go so far with that. The electric screwdriver is just, I don't find it as good for the little pivot screws. Most of the keys on the bottom joint are pivot screws, so just kind of the old-fashioned manual screwdriver for getting all those off. And the tubes out if I can. This isn't an overhaul on this one. This is just a COA. So if I can get the tubes out, great. If not, and I'll still check them to make sure they're sealed, but I'm not going to spend all day on it. If I remember correctly, the thumb tube comes out, but the register tube doesn't. Heat it up, give it a couple tries to get it out. If I really had to get this out of there for some reason, say it was causing some kind of problem, I could do it, but I don't want to spend the time on it if I don't have to. So it's not going to affect anything as long as it's sealing, and I will definitely ensure that it's sealing during the assembly process. And we are on to the cleaning process here. Just a mixture of water and Murphy's oil soap here in this bin. Just kind of lukewarm water. So I'm going to use my ultrasonic tank for this, but I don't want to put the wooden instrument directly into the tank. While it's a very mild acid that's in the tank, it's still an acid. So I just really don't want that getting on the wood of the instrument. So I'll show you what I do to get around that so I can still use the ultrasonic action without subjecting the instrument to the acid. So just my water and Murphy's oil soap in the smaller bin here. I'm going to put all the wooden components of the clarinet in there. It's both upper joints and both lower joints. And I've got 2 bells and 3 barrels for this clarinet. Everybody in the pool. And there it is in the ultrasonic tank. So the ultrasonic waves have no trouble going right through the plastic bin. So I'm still getting that ultrasonic action while not putting the wood into acid. Giving everything a good rinse here. And time for compressed air to dry everything off. Yes, it is okay to get wooden clarinets wet like this. I wouldn't leave it submerged overnight or anything like that. But it's made of a tree. It's been wet many, many times in its life. And to get a thorough cleaning, this is really, I'm not sure how else you do it, to really do a truly thorough professional cleaning on the instrument. So it was only wet for a few minutes here, and now it's getting thoroughly dried with compressed air, just blasting all that excess moisture out of there. And yeah, in fact, after this process, it's going to be slightly drier than I want it to be, but that's no problem because I'm going to give it the most thorough oiling probably the instrument has ever had in its life. So while the ultrasonic tank does a very good job of cleaning the instrument, it really breaks up any kind of embedded crud. It's not perfect. So one of the spots where there's usually a little bit of stuff left behind is at the tenons and some in the sockets too. But yeah, usually right around the kind of the base of the tenon. I'm just kind of going through there, get anything that the ultrasonic tank might not have broken up. Checking inside the sockets of the bells and barrels as well. And now I need to kind of get into all the posts here. So yeah, you can see there's a fair amount of stuff still in there. Yeah, and I see this missed kind of a lot too. You might have really clean keys, really clean rods and screws, but then all that stuff touches the posts, and the dirt that's still stuck in the post kind of gets back on everything else. So yeah, we need these to be clean too, or else everything just gets dirty all over again. You see, there's some of these posts. There's quite a bit. I'd say that's a little more than average. I'm oiling the instrument. I keep a special set of swabs just for oiling. So I have one kind of wet swabs and dry swabs. So I keep three different swabs. Kind of the medium one for clarinets is what I'm using. I keep a big one for bass clarinets, and I keep a really little one for oboes. Just in a Ziploc bag and re-oil them as needed. But that's what I'm using to oil the bore here. So I'll usually run the swab through about 4 times, seems to be the sweet spot. Then I'll hold it up to the light to make sure that the entire inside of the bore has been coated with oil. And while it's all disassembled, this is when I definitely want to take advantage of the opportunity to oil the outside of the wood as well, for like maintenance and just like longevity of the wood's life. Not nearly as important to oil the outside of the instrument, but yeah, it just sure does look nice when you do. So it can be really hard to work around all the keys and everything when it's assembled. So when it's disassembled, like these clarinets are, one for an overhaul, one for a COA, that's definitely when I'm going to take advantage of oiling the outside of the wood. So it's almost time to meet Michael at the airstrip. So I've got the 4 bass clarinets he wants to pick up loaded into the car, and we are off to the airport. You may very well laugh when you see the size of Potsdam's airport. Yeah, an airstrip might be a little bit of a better term for it. It is not very large. And it's not very far from my house, actually. It's a bit farther from the shop than it is from my house. But again, it's Potsdam. It's really not very far at all. So yeah, you might kind of notice we're just taking the reverse path so far from how we started out the day. So we just went past the street I would turn down if I was going back home. And that's it. We're pretty much to the airport already. So I was kind of surprised how many videos I made for this day. So yeah, that's the end of part 1.
New miles Monday, we'll go miles on this ride. New some miles on the side.